Hello and welcome to Glitch Cube, we're a gaming podcast, and each week we take a deeper look into the art of video games. As always, I'm Christian.
I'm Chris.
And welcome back, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us once again as we dive further into the world of games. So this week, what we got in store for you is kind of paying homage to something that we love doing here. It's an extension of our We Make a Game series that has been continuing on throughout the years. We can say years now. It's kind of crazy, right? And happy 2023. We didn't say that in the last episode. Sorry, everybody. Happy New Year. Our bad. 2022 kind of went really, really fast. So
feels like it never ended.
Yeah, I know, right? It's still going. 2020 still living on. No, horrible thought. But anyway,
yeah, it is.
Let's go on to something happy. So we're going to be going through some game ideas that we've had in the past. So me and Chris, when we worked together, we talked a lot about making games and just making content or something in the future. That was before making this podcast. And we want to continue on with that. We want to continue making things together. And we've been kind of floating around the idea of going back to some of the games that we came up with in the past. So we thought it would be a good idea to share those games, to bring them to life, to have them out there in the ether so that you guys know about them. And if there's any titles out there that kind of spark your interest or something that you really like, let us know. But yeah, don't worry. All of them are probably going to be made at some point in time. I also have some games that I thought of and was actually working on for a little bit while I was in school. So I went to school at Full Sail University, got my degree in game design, and have a couple games from there that I was really excited about. And I really love those ideas, and I want to see them come to life. So this is kind of my way of bringing them back out from, the dusty recesses of living in an old computer that hasn't been touched in a while and seeing if they still have any legs. But yeah, I'm pretty excited about this. I think this is going to be a lot of fun, and we have some really cool ideas, or at least we think they're really cool. So hopefully y'all enjoy them. And who knows, maybe you'll be playing them in the future as we expand Cubeverse from not just podcasts, but into an entire media mega structure superpower company thing, right? Who knows? It might happen. We'll see. Yeah, we'll see what the future holds. But yeah, let's jump right into this. We didn't really discuss an order before, so I don't know. Why don't we start with the dwarf game? What do you think?
Yeah. Okay.
So the dwarf game is one that we've been talking about for a little bit now, and it's a very simple concept. I really do consider this style of game more of a confidence builder, one to get us comfortable with the flow of game design, kind of put us into the right mindset for some of the bigger projects that we have in mind as well. And it just sounds fun as hell. So the basic idea behind it is it's a party game. You get multiplayer for at least 4 players, if not 8, depending on the scope and range that we really want to go with this thing. But you are a dwarf in a cave. It's a top-down view from what we're thinking. And there are treasures in the cave that you must acquire and bring them back to your home base, right? Or your cart or whatever it may be, the way to secure them. Now, the thing is that the whole map is basically darked out. And the only way to get to them is by running down some paths, and you can break down walls in the way. But if you break down a wall that leads straight to the gems, well, you're also making a path for your opponents too. So I think that's where the excitement comes in, and we can add in some extra little flair and stuff like that too. But I don't know. I've been really excited about this title ever since we first, thought about it.
Yeah, there was so many times where I was like, what if this game was just a little bit different? Like, I remember in my mind thinking, like, what if it was kind of like in a way like SteamWorld Dig, where imagine like it's, you're moving down, right? Instead of being like how we have it or think about it right now, where it's kind of pulled back and you see the whole screen kind of thing. Mm-hmm. It's more so like kind of like a side scroller, right? You drop down and then you just start digging down or to the sides or whatever. There's junk all around. But the map is big enough where it's not like the players will drop right next to each other. But if they travel far enough, they could bump into each other and make it kind of crazy. And I thought that was a really cool idea at first, but then I was like, one, that would be a lot more work. And two, I kind of like the older, more retro feel of just, being like a top-down view. It's faster paced, and I feel like if you want to make a good multiplayer game, especially one that could be played on a phone at a party, like it's better to have something quick or have a mode that can be fast. And I remember we were talking like, oh, what if there was like a super quick mode? This game is really interesting because I feel like you just don't really see this kind of game anymore. I mean, when I think about it, I think about like, oh, Mr. Driller or Dig Dug,
a little bit, right?
Bomberman, like it sets itself up for it, right? Because you could treat it like Bomberman, where it's like you make your little path, you can use a bomb. I feel like bombs would be like a limited resource.
Yeah,
you mostly just have your pickaxe.
I think it would be pickups that you can use. And it's like a Mario Kart style one-use thing.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that would probably be the best way to at least balance it. And like as far as like any add-ons for continued play, I think it would just be aesthetic, just to keep the balance there.
Yeah, I think, there could be options like handicaps and stuff where it's like, your basic game, you find power-ups. You could set a mode or a setting where it's like, you only go in with 3 bombs and that's it, or there's some kind of like characteristic where it's like limited resources basically. And, if someone, say you run into another player, like you can battle them, you can attack them with your pickaxe. And I think the hard part for me was like, do we want it where it's like permadeath, or is it where they come back, spawn at the starting spot with all their money dropped, right?
I think that would probably make the most sense, right?
Yeah, because it would piss off the person just enough where they would want to go and get back at their friend.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know, like I really like the idea. Like I would have fun playing this just because it's different. Mm-hmm. And two, it's just sounds like it'd be fast enough where you wouldn't be kind of like, okay, this has been going on for like an hour now. There'd be a time
limit. Think it would be like a 3 to 5 minute match where you just go, you're good, and move on to the next match, right?
I think like, there'd be settings where like you could do like time limits, like I would say the shortest would be, you could even do a 1 minute mode, make it a very small map.
Mm-hmm. Make it so it's like a 1 hit break through the wall instead of maybe like 3 hits or something, right?
Yeah. Or, there's, a mode where it's like 30 minutes, right? Like and I think it'd be kind of cool to have those different ones. And with that, you can also select the size of the map. So, if you want something quick, you could do a very small map, or you could do a huge map for those long matches, or you could do it for a quick one. That way you don't run and cross anybody and just, get crazy digging.
Right.
Something I thought about, because we want to make this arcadey. I was also thinking, one day, say, if this actually really took off, it'd be kind of fun to add a mode where it's like, kind of like stats almost. Like, it'd be weird though, because it'd be so opposite of what the game's trying to push, and that arcadey, everything's always equal. But it would be kind of cool. Like, I guess it wouldn't.
I think having like badges or like titles to the names would make that kind of interesting. Like, what if you had, like, let's say for instance, me, Meow Pow the dwarf, right? It would be Meow Pow the pacifist, like play 5 games without killing anyone, right? Or like
Mm-hmm.
Meow Pow the gem hunter, get more than 10 gems per game out of like 20 games or something, right? Like you can add in those little things, because then people can then customize their character a little bit, so that other people know, like, oh, this guy's pretty ruthless, or okay, I don't think I have to worry about them killing me, but man, they keep winning, so like I gotta still look out for them. I think that would be just kind of fun to add in there, and you can have some like goofy ones too, where it's like, oh, the chicken, right, where you're just running away from everybody, and we can try and keep a stat going there, where if you've turned around and ran away from people more than you've actually ran up to them, or right, like just try and do it that way, because I do want to keep the idea of it being more of a simple arcade game, and I think that's the
Mm-hmm.
importance of having it as a one screen game. I think that's really crucial for that vibe. And because if it was a really big map where you kind of have to zoom out and you can't see anybody, I feel like that might kind of mess up the idea of this faster paced multiplayer experience where you're really up
Mm-hmm.
against somebody. Because if you just kind of hide in a corner where no one sees you and just hope for gems to spawn, it seems like kind of like a cheapy way of doing it, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I thought it would be really cool with the bombs if they can cause cave-ins, where basically a wall is now put back where they were. So you can use the
Hmm.
bomb. I was wondering, like, if the bomb really should be a way to attack somebody. But I mean, in real life, like, right, like if you stood too close to a bomb, then you'll blow up. So I guess it would have like a damage radius, but it would be interesting if it could cave in a walkway, so that you can block paths that you've created for other players. Or if someone's chasing you, you drop a bomb and you do a cave in right there, right? Like that might be kind of fun to add in.
Yeah, I was thinking, like, imagine, you have a radius, right? And the explosion of the bomb, it'll blow up the rocks maybe like 3 squares out in all directions. But then on that fourth square, on that ring, all of it gets filled in,
Yeah.
right? Like the walls get closed in around it because of like the reverb.
hmm I think that
That'd
would
be
be really
super
cool.
cool.
Yeah.
I like that idea just because it's like it can be used as like a strategic thing,
Yeah.
and it's I like the title because then achievements, I think that'd be fun. And I feel like, I don't know if this would be a free to play game. Like I kind of feel like there'd be 2 ways to do it, right? Like make this free and have like a battle pass where it'd be like for
New
like
skins
little
or
skins.
something.
And you have to remember, this game is not going to be like high def. Like this is,
It's probably going to be
2D.
pixel graphics. Well, let's be honest. So,
Yeah. So it's like, it's not like you're getting anything crazy looking, but it'll make you stand out. We'll put it that way. But it was either that, or it's like, there is a battle pass, right? That you could spend money on every month. Or if you buy the game, you get the battle passes for life.
that would be pretty cool.
Right? Like, think about it. Like, well, it's hard to say because I feel like, a game like that, how much, like a battle pass normally on most games is $10. But I was thinking, what if, a battle pass a month, $5. But if you buy the game for $10, you get all the battle passes.
Yeah, I mean, I'm all for that, because I think the less like added transactions, the more transparency you have, I think the better in general. Especially for building up like a community fan base, right?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it might not be a get rich quick scheme, but it's still creating that fan base.
I look at it like, I'm a person that likes playing games that sometimes have battle royales, battle passes. And, there's times where I'm like, oh, I'll spend a month on it, but then it kind of goes to waste, or it just like, I don't know, it ends up being expensive, right? But if I end up really liking the game, I wouldn't mind dropping the amount that would normally be a battle pass or 2 months worth and just get it all the time.
Yeah.
Granted, you still, if you don't finish the battle pass within that time, you'll still like, a new one will come. It's not like they'll be like always available. I know like Halo is trying to make that a new standard with their battle pass where it's like you can forever get everything that's on the battle pass, which is a cool idea. And I mean, we could do that, but I also feel like how many levels are you going to add to this stupid thing, right? It's like, imagine like 100 levels for a battle pass, and then you add another 100 for the next season. It's like,
I think maybe we followed like Marvel Snap's way of doing that, because they have like the season pass. Mm-hmm. So as you play, you level up, and you can level up your character and your season pass as well, right? And as you level up, you unlock little tiny things that you go along. If you pay extra, then there's extra unlocks, right? So I think what it could be is, let's say for $2 or $5 a month, you can get access to whatever that month's theme is, like the extra pieces, but you can still get some of the ones for just having the game, right? And then if you want to just buy everything outright, like maybe $15, and you just always have access to those extra unlockables. I like that. That would be a good way. It's a nice little like teaser way of showing what's available, but with it just being kind of cosmetic, like that's kind of nice though, right? Like it's not hurting anyone. It's not giving anyone an unfair advantage while in the games. It's not ruining like the meta of it. So you never have to worry about balancing.
Yeah. And it's like, it, other than just like skins, like there can be like, even if you don't want to get a battle pass, like there's stuff still that you get. And, I'm thinking maybe, instead of 5, make it 2. Mm-hmm. But if you want to buy it for 10, then you get it for life. Because then it makes more sense, right? Because then you'd be getting like 5 months worth of battle passes, which, unless someone really falls in love with the game, I feel like it's kind of rare for someone to buy battle passes that long. I don't know. For me, as someone who doesn't play a lot of free-to-play games, like it's hard for me to keep a battle pass going. But if I were to just get it for $10, it would just kind of be easier.
Mm-hmm. I agree.
But depending on, looking at the game graphics wise and everything, it's like, I feel like that's also an acceptable amount as well. And, there could be, added things, like say you get like a little pet that kind of follows you. Of course, they'd be pretty small, but
I was just thinking that like a light pet, right? Because
like, it'd be cute
if it's dark and like that pet also emits light, so now you have just like a little extra light with you, and it could be like a walking candle, right? like a little spider candle that's just adorable, or something silly like that, right? Or even like take a page from Don't Starve and make it like a chest that crawls around with you. And you can store gems in there. So if they hit you, then your gems are fine. But if they hit your chest, then they can get your gems, right? Like maybe choose it that way. That'd be kind of fun. Just like an extra little like scapegoat or something like that. But it doesn't really like break anything, right? It's just another thing to kind of add on. Like maybe you can hold more now because you have that. So instead of having to deposit after 5, then you can deposit after like 10 or something, right? But that gives more risk because now you're holding on to 10 gems instead of just 5 or whatever it is, right?
Yeah. I'm just trying to think, like, would that be like something everybody gets, like a pet? Because, you don't want to create it where it's like
break it either, right? Yeah.
But I'm like imagining like a little dog that's just a walking chest, called Chester, and it's like, or like just a treasure chest with 4 little legs and a tail and ears, and it's like just following you around. Like, that'd be kind of cute. And I like that idea. Like, I didn't think of something like that. I was more so thinking like, oh, just like either like a little candle or it just even following you around, like it'd be cool to add mechanics to it. But I feel like it adds that like problem, like, okay, like if people are able to buy these, like there could be an advantage.
Right.
But
they might need to be, I think anything that is purchased should just be cosmetic. So utility items like that should be accessible to everyone that has the game.
I think it could be a setting you have where you could have pets. And basically, so going back to it, you know, with the battle pass, you would just get skins for the pets.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you could have, we could do it where they're all the same, or, you know, certain pets have certain, well, I don't want to say certain pets because I know some people will want to play a cat, but they like the dog's trait, and it would be kind of shitty to make them play a pet they don't want. So
that would be adorable to make it like a customizable pet, right? Where like you have your utility item, it's like a chest, a candle or something like that, right? Or a bomb bag, or right, but you can add it onto your pet. So you can customize your pet loadout that way. So like you yourself, let's say you enter the game with a pickaxe and 3 bombs and that's it. But like maybe you put a candle on your cat. So now it's a cat candle. A cat, just a candle.
A cattle.
A cattle. Yeah, it's a cattle. And so now it just emits like a little extra light for you so you can see a little bit further, right? Or you're able to put the chest on a dog or whatever it is, right? Like I think that could be really adorable and fun. I don't know how much that might take away from gameplay, or if it becomes unfair, or how soon you give it to the people, or how easy it is, or maybe it's just something you just have right off the bat and people can just play with different loadouts. So I don't know.
I kind of like that. I never thought about having little pets added, like special gameplay, but that would make it fun, you know, because then it's not just always the same thing. I mean, maybe to be for a different mode, you know, but
I think that would be great really for like if someone really wants to get a specific title, so they need to complete a certain achievement, having these extra utility pets would probably help with that. And then you can get weird with it, which would be really cool. Like a dark, like a pact with a demon pet or something, right? And you have a dash now, where you kind of like warp forward a little bit, right? Like, oh, it's a time demon. But the dash isn't like that crazy, you know, but it is a little bit. It gives you a little boost here and there. But whenever that pack, like maybe it's a Halloween pack that gets included with all that, where you can ghost through a wall, right? But it's very limited charges. Or something silly like that.
I like that. Like after like breaking maybe like 10 walls, you get a charge or something.
Yeah.
That'd be cool.
That'd be good. Or you have like 1 or 2 charges and you have to return to base to get it again or something. That way you play super strategically. I think that'd be really fun, actually. I like this.
Yeah. I like these little ideas.
Yeah. But this is definitely one that we are actively looking to make pretty soon here. So be on the lookout. And we don't have a name yet. So any recommendations, throw it our way. Still don't know. Just not Dig Dug. It's taken.
Yeah.
And Shovel Knight can't be done either. But something Dwarf, maybe. I don't know. We'll see.
Dwarf Fortress.
Yeah. Miner 69er. Can do that. So.
Oh.
Just to make a really obnoxious game or name for that. Everyone plays it and they're like, this is not what I expected. You're like, good.
Oh no.
Oh God. All right. You got another game idea for us? You want to float out?
Yeah, so this is a game that I've kind of always had on my mind. I think I've had this idea since like I was younger. Like I would say maybe like I like putting in game eras. I would say maybe like the PlayStation 2 era. But so imagine the scene. There's a world war going on, right? Every continent is at battle with each other. And you're no dummy to it, right? You are a classical musician, and you want to be known all around the world. But, with a world war going on, the focus isn't on you, right? It's obviously on the war. So you're blown to the side, your character has and this is a working part. I could take this out, but I didn't know if I want to make them like an alcoholic or if they have like some kind of like problem, like not an addiction, but something, I guess something like that.
A vice,
but
right? I feel like you would need a vice,
yes.
yeah.
So, you want to become famous. So what I thought was it's a strategy game. So think like maybe Tactics Ogre kind of, or Final Fantasy Tactics, but classical music. And you're probably wondering, well, how does that work? Well, either I was thinking, what if instruments were your squad? And basically, you had to have like your ensemble, and you would go to other continents or different venues, and you would battle other classical musicians and sometimes maybe artists or bands from other types of music. And you're trying to overtake the world and battle them with music. And it was hard for me to think about this at first because back then I was like, oh, what if it was more like a rhythm game,
right?
Instead of like a strategy game,
right?
And I was like, oh, well, that could work too. I was thinking, what if it was, looking at it now, I look at like Metal Hellsinger or, Crypto the Necrodancer, like something maybe with music in that sense, but with classical music. And I know a lot of people don't like classical music or don't care for it, but I don't know, it'd just be kind of cool. Like imagine being Mozart and you're like, I'm gonna go and screw up Beethoven right now, and it's like these like epic battles of just like music, but you're not really doing the music, you're just like doing something to it. And I don't want to steal Crypto the Necrodancer's idea where you have to jump to the beat. I kind of like Metal Hellsinger where it's like, you shoot to the beat, which is kind of interesting, but I don't want to use weapons, obviously, so it'd be an instrument of some sort. So
what if it's the personification of pieces? Because you know how each piece of classical music has a theme behind it, right? Whether it's Ode to Summer or whatever it is, right? And like each one of your members or your allies or comrades are a personification of that musical piece. And whenever you do, let's say, an attack or whatever it is, you have to do it to the beat of that piece itself. So if it's something like a war charge kind of music theme, then it's very fast paced. But then if it's a sonnet or something like that, right? Like it would be a little bit more slower, but that could be more of a magic based attack or a healing spell or something like that, right?
Mm-hmm. I kind of like that.
Yeah, I'm trying to think of like what it is a very interesting idea. I'm having a hard time visualizing combat.
That I think that's the hardest part for me because I'm thinking like already like, oh, when you face off against like say hip hop artists, like it's classical music, but you're doing beats with it. And I'm just trying to think like, how would the combat fully work? Because originally when I thought the strategy, I was like, oh, it'd be kind of cutesy looking. It wouldn't be super dark. But now that I'm thinking about it more with different kind of combat,
I'm wondering if like you actually teach a little bit of musical theory in this, where if they do harmonious like sounds, right, or you're playing notes that actually do go together, that would increase a combo meter, right? and maybe it's a more of like a turn-based style game where you have your notes, and you have to play your notes in a certain order in order to get a nice sound. But if you repeat notes over and over and over again because you found that one worked, then it's going to slowly people will slowly lose interest, and it won't be as impactful anymore, meaning that it's not as potent of an ability, right? And it could be just like that, right? Where it's a just like a turn-based battle system where you're going back and forth playing notes to one another, playing little parts of the tunes, or even, I mean, shoot, like I don't know, it could be like a card game, right? Where each card is a different note, and as you draw them, you have to put cards in the right order, and like they play that way, right? Well, they'll play like the C D G E, right? Whatever it is, and actually create moves and attacks based off of that.
Oh, I didn't think about cards. I'm like thinking of like Rhythm Heaven almost.
Mm.
Something like that style.
There's something to this. It's a very interesting concept, and I think that's something that definitely needs to be like thought about a little bit more, because I like this idea. I like the idea of having music be the main proponent to like the battle system itself. I'm just
Mhm.
wondering, where does that live, right? Like without it being the obvious rhythm game. I think that's something that would make it stand apart and be completely different. Is if you're able to break away from the idea of it being a rhythm game.
Yeah. That's what I wanted to avoid. Ultimately, I wanted to do like something with a more traditional style, but bring it with music. And it doesn't have to be classical music either. I just thought it'd be more interesting to see it taken in a more like aggressive approach, but it could be like any kind of music, honestly. But I
Mhm.
like the setting of like a war with like classical music. Like it'd be kind of fitting.
That'd be really cool. I do really like this. I still keep going back to turn-based ideas. Like, what if the music is actually like personas that you have, right? Like, if you go
Hmm.
like the persona route, right? And like you can equip different styles of music to each person, or you get different types of musicians in your party, and each one has a different type of music that they play. But whenever they do their move, like let's say you're just doing a basic attack, right? And you have like you have maybe shoot, I don't know, like a violinist, right? Like you go and you have to hit the beats of like, or play the right order, right? I guess it would be kind of rhythmy as far as that goes. But if you play it correctly, then you play it a perfect note, and that means that you get extra damage. But you can also play defensively by playing notes before the attack comes and hits you, right? Like maybe there's something to that too, where it's turn-based combat, but it has like that rhythm element kind of built into it in order to make moves better. Which I know that some games have done that, like like Lost Odyssey, where you have to
Hmm.
hit the button in the right time, and it does a little bit more damage, or it's a little bit more potent, right? Just a little tiny bit better, but nothing like crazy game breaking. So
Hmm.
there's that
I didn't think
RPG
about that.
too that I can't remember the name of it, but it was a really interesting one. And like every time you attacked, you had like a record that you would play, and you had to like press the buttons with the on the record at the certain like point, and it would be better attacks or things like that. So that was actually really interesting. And then actually playing like Earthbound too, right? Because you can
Oh
chain
yeah.
combos based on the heartbeats, which are in the beat of the music itself. So that's an interesting idea there too. So
I didn't think about that.
I think there's something to this.
Ooh.
This would be really interesting. Like you need a lot of really good music to put into it and find a way to make all those different styles harmonious in some way.
Yeah, I think that's the hard part. But I don't know. This would be something I'd be interested in if I ever got like really talented with music. I
Yeah.
don't know. I'm liking that Earthbound idea.
Yeah, that's really hard to do on emulators, almost impossible, but it's a really
Mm,
great little
yeah.
like concept to put into a game for sure. Hmm. I like that one a lot.
What about you? I know there's a couple that we've talked about and you've mentioned. I know you got some good ideas.
Yeah. So there's one game that I've been wanting to make for a long, long time. I came up with this idea a while ago. Actually, I came up with it while I was in a cultural anthropology class, thinking about rites of passages and the masks that we wear and how we view society and how we are viewed in society. And I made a game that spun off of that and took absolutely no ideas from there. So it kind of went in a completely different direction. But it was more of think kind of like fantasy setting, right? Like it could be the future where things are kind of like back to villages and things like that, or it could be the very distant past, but there's magic around, right? And you are a child or a teen or whatever it is, the protagonist. You are living in a village, and there's a major shrine within the village. I think after going to Japan and seeing all the beautiful shrines throughout the landscape, even in like city settings and things like that, it was just beautiful to see those things. Just to feel the importance of them and to know that someone was taking care of them was really meaningful to me. So I wanted to have that there where there's just a shrine. It's just part of everyday life, right? It's there. And then at some point, obviously the shrine gets attacked, and your father or the grandmaster, whoever's in charge, like is struck down, and you are there to witness it. And right before the big bad is able to open the doors, that's when you're met with the first deity that you talk to in this game. Now, the gameplay style, I keep going back to, like, at first I was looking at it as an isometric style game, something kind of like Tunic, along those lines. But with the abilities that you would get with each deity that you meet, I think would make it really interesting. And it really speaks on personality traits, which I think is really cool to do. But the first one you would get is strength, which I think would be appropriate for like an action-based style game or an adventure game, so that you can actually defend yourself and fight back. So with each deity that you meet, you actually get a new mask that you can wear. And the masks give you special powers that are the animals. So each mask is an animal mask, and it's that animal's traits like personified, right? So the first one would be like a bull mask. So that means that you have strength, you're able to attack, and you're able to defend yourself. But if you wear the mask for too long, then it starts having some negative repercussions on you, where your strength now turns into fatigue, and your health might drain faster whenever you're using these attacks because you're pushing your body too far past its limits, right? Or let's say we get to the next deity and it's the fox mask, which would be speed or cunning. And after you're super fast for a short amount of time, but it takes a toll on your body, and now you're super slow as well, right? So there's always going to be a good and a bad to them. I think the biggest one that I thought of with the owl mask, which would be wisdom, it would give you the ability to see secret passages that you did not see before, and ways around the map and things like that. But if you wear it for too long, the idea of what is real and what isn't anymore starts to blend. And maybe you start getting attacked by creatures that aren't actually there, which I think would be really interesting to do. So it's kind of that was basic idea of it, and make it an action adventure game. I really was focused a lot on the story wise aspects of it before even thinking about mechanics. But with the main villain, I really wanted it to be something with the idea of greed. So they have greed as a mask. So that's the whole point of this, is that when you first get introduced to the main villain, they are already wearing a mask. They are wearing the greed mask. Not sure which animal that would be yet. I'm still having a hard time personifying that one. I have a few in mind, but nothing really felt right. Like maybe a snake, maybe, right? Like there's different ways to go down this road. But my favorite one that I've thought of so far was, what if the mask is actually just a human mask? And that's the mask of greed. So that was kind of my little extra like nod to everything, right? Like I kind of like that idea the most. So just kind of putting all that together and just trying to figure out who the villain is, why they're actually doing this, what's their main goal, right? And I really like the idea of whenever stories make it that the villain is not just a bad guy, right? There's no such thing as just a bad person. Everyone's motivated by different things. And maybe under different circumstances, this person's, like your main character that's quote unquote hero, could have ended up in the same exact situation as the one that's wearing the greed mask now, right? So I really want to play up that idea and make the characters feel for the villain at some point in time. Maybe it could be a great reveal at the end where the greed mask falls off and it just shows a normal human crying, that they're grieving, and their greed is that they don't want to lose the one they loved, and that's why they were seeking this power, right? It could be something like that, where it's a very real human emotion that's being played out, but just to like the 10th degree, right? Where now there's nothing that will stop them from achieving their goal. So that's the main story of what I've been wanting to work on here. And I really love this idea. And I've done a little bit of artwork for it as just starting to get the ideas out there. I think last year I did the world building challenge. It was a drawing challenge on Instagram by, I think it was Matt Draws. I believe it. I'll have to look that up again. But yeah, so I did some artwork there. You can see it on my Instagram if you want to see the kind of ideas that I'm looking at. But I don't know. I really like this idea a lot. I think it would be a lot of fun to make and a lot of fun to play, but it always has a scope that kind of scares me. That's why I think this will be a maybe like a game 2 or game 3 kind of thing, because I feel so passionate about this one. I want it to be done right. So, but also that idea of making it perfect could kill it and never have it being made, right? So it's one of those things where at some point I have to just kind of let go.
I remember this was like one you always were talking about, and it always sounded so damn cool. Like I didn't know about that greed mask, and I'm like, damn, like that's actually a really cool take. It to me, like, I feel like I know there's been games with masks and you get different stuff, but I feel like nothing really like that. I feel like maybe some things, like when I think about this, for some reason, my mind kind of goes to like Nobody Saves the World a little bit, where you get like
different abilities and things like that.
Different abilities for the different like bodies, but like I don't know, like this could be taken like in such a cool way, right? Like how you said, like, you know, one mask will give you some buffs, where the other one gives you debuffs, and then, you know, you could lose your mind and stuff. And it's interesting because you could create like a sanity meter, almost like what Eternal Darkness has, where, you know, it could play around with the screen, you know, so it's not just enemies on the map, but like, you know, you'll see like almost like the Lost Woods in Link to the Past, right? You go one way and it ends up just being like a loop, or, you know, your screen can just go black for a minute, come back, and it's like a different path, even though, like, you know, you don't get magically teleported somewhere. It's just the skin of the area looks different, or
it's something's off now, right? Like, I like that idea.
Yeah.
I also thought that, because I don't know, whenever I write stories, I like writing them from the end first. So I always thought of the final battle being where you take off all the masks and it's just you, because you realize this entire time, even if you were wearing a mask that made you feel stronger, made you feel faster, made you feel smarter, you were still the one performing all those actions. You did these things, right? So maybe there was no ability, but it's talking about the idea that we wear different masks throughout our lives to be more confident, to be more extra, more us, more of what we think we should be, when we realize that, like, you don't need those masks. You are the one that was performing those amazing feats all along. So that's kind of where I wanted it to end on that note. I don't know if it's too sappy or not, but I do like that idea though.
I think it'd be really good, especially if you kind of framed it right. I think it could be really well done.
Oh. Hey, I don't think it can be one of those like, and then the fairy says, "It was you all along. You are the chosen one." No, like you did those things. No, there needs to be the interesting way of having that realization without it being too overly cheesy, which I don't know how to do, but we'll figure it out.
It shouldn't be too hard. With something like such an interesting ending like that, it'd be, I don't know. I feel like you get really crazy with it.
Yeah. I think we can have some fun with it, mixing the powers and doing all that. Like, make it a crazy big moment. So,
this next one is something that we both thought a lot about, and to me, I feel like it might be
at one point.
Yeah, I feel like this might be the biggest game that we've thought of so far, and this is something I really want to see get done. But I feel like the way I want it to look and play is a lot harder than what I think it is. Because, I think back years ago when I used to mess around with RPG Maker, and I thought, oh, this isn't so hard. But, obviously when you start getting into the meat of that and wanting to make it basically not your typical RPG Maker game, that stuff gets really hard. That's why you see a huge amount of those games out there. But for this game, my thoughts on it were, imagine I feel like we wanted a turn-based RPG, but we wanted to make it so you can also play it as an action RPG.
Yeah, we kept floating back and forth between those two ideas.
And I was thinking it'd be really cool. And this is why I'm thinking, this would be on the grand scale where you could decide which way you wanted to play.
Oh, shit.
And
basically make two games in one.
I mean, you could do like the Final Fantasy VII Remake style where it's like actiony, but still has that kind of turn-based element to it.
I do like that direction now. I think when we first thought about this, that game wasn't around yet. So we didn't know that was a possibility, right? Or there wasn't a good example to look at of how to do that properly. And I think that this game might lend itself very well to that style.
Yeah. And well, it's difficult because at first, so I guess we got to talk about the setting and stuff like that.
True.
So
we know what we're talking about. They don't. So, yeah.
Yeah. When I thought about this, it felt a lot to me like something like Persona, in the sense that, there are the demons in the world, and, I'm trying to remember the exact way we had it framed, but it was like there was different points or poles in the world, and basically they were kind of like portals or ways that demons could slip through, but most of them were guarded, right? Like supposedly they were all secured, there's been no issues with demons in the world and stuff like that. Or there are demons in the world, but the ones that are there, like tamed, I guess you could say, like they're
or controlled. I think we set it up as a cybernetic kind of style, right? Where these major companies were controlling these demons, and that's where their power and success was actually coming from. And you, being a hacker, found your way in through a firewall. But when we think of the idea of firewalls, this is an actual legit firewall, right? Like it's a seal that's keeping the demon at bay. And you start realizing that demons do exist. They are just being used as sources of power for certain companies and things like that. So
that's right. So in a I don't want to say cyberpunk, but just, future,
Mhm.
right? I would say, like, yes, corporations are very powerful, but they're not in full control like what a cyberpunk setting would be.
Mhm.
I think this world is kind of on the edge where it's getting close to it. Like, this takes place on Earth, so it has real continents, real everything, but it's between that line where countries still have their government, but corporations are becoming so rich and powerful that some countries, the corporations work with the government, so they're like together. Other ones, there's a competition between the two, or competitions between other countries.
Mhm.
And everything in this world, it advanced very quickly, and a lot of people don't know why. And all your life you're kind of taught like, oh, demons exist, they're most of them are bad. There are some that are good, but you don't, because you're just a normal person, you don't see it. But the gimmick is that you're a small time like hacker, right? You just kind of mess around and stuff, but you find out that this big corporation in your country is using power from demons to make their corporation stronger. Basically, their company runs on demon power because, later do you find out that their big corporate headquarters is located right above a portal.
Mhm.
And, this game was supposed to be kind of like a grand scale game. I remember we kind of had this thought where, like, do we want to make this like one long game, or do we want to break this up? Because it would be cool to have a very long game, but at the same time, with the amount of detail I would love to see in this world, I think it'd be a lot better broken up, and also a chance to explore other stories.
Mhm.
I think, you could have a game focused on one whole continent itself,
Right.
or one region. For me, when I was thinking this, there were a few locations that really stuck out to me. And Japan, of course, is that Neo Tokyo style, like very advanced, if not the most advanced in the world. And to me, I feel like we both kind of agreed is that's kind of where you start, is in Japan.
Mhm.
Or it could be in America. I feel like it might be better in America just because that's where we're located. So it might be a little bit easier. But I still think Japan should have, like, a very strong presence in the world, right? They're
I
one
feel
of the
like
most
with
advanced.
starting in Japan, it actually allows us to add in more ideas of the yokai and like the demon lore from there, because all of
Mhm.
the ideas of the demons will be based off of actual folklore that's there, right? Like these
Yes.
stories came from somewhere. So I think that's one of the big things that we wanted to harp on, and we had a very hard time initially trying to think of where to start this game, and I think that's whenever we thought of increasing the scope of it. Where if the game has a setting of being in Tokyo at first, then we can have all these crazy, cool demons that are Japanese related, right? Like that's the basis of it. But then let's say you go to Africa in the next game, and now it's African lore that is feeding the imagery and what things look like there, right? Like so, I think that's where we kind of agreed on making it multiple games in which you can explore different regions, but it's all the same world in which that you are going through.
Yeah, that's right. So that's something that I thought was really cool too, is that not only would you see like demons and ghosts and stuff, I was thinking like, what if we had like, like heavenly bodies, or like, in folklore and stories, there's those spirits that are not bad, but they're not great either. They're kind of like that middle ground kind
Mhm.
of thing, like they would be incorporated in it. And
like a fiend in Chainsaw Man, so it's not a devil but a fiend, right?
yeah, that's a good point. I kind of like that. And with the state of the world, I had a lot of different ideas about it, but the only ones that really stuck out to me were Japan. And then with Africa, I was thinking they would be, that area would be maybe the second most advanced, right? Mm-hmm. Like it's, they were able to harness a power that is a lot stronger because it's more unified compared to other regions. So you see like a lot of like futuristic cities and places that you would look at now and be like, you couldn't imagine it.
Mm-hmm.
And that was something I wanted to see in this game, is that, a lot of these countries that, or even just continents in general, kind of, I don't say get left behind, but no one really, you don't see like huge things, like at least over here in America, you don't see those kind of things like in stories or nothing. And I would like to see like an advanced civilization from it, right? Like one that has risen through and gained power, right? And like another region would be like, I feel like we were going with Mexico, but I also feel like, obviously there'd be some in South America as well. Like basically every continent, I feel like you could kind of have a spot,
mm-hmm.
but there would be also certain countries where there's like certain activity. But you would always be kind of in that same region throughout the different games. But something I really liked about this is that I would like to, with the folklore and the spirits and stuff, it'd be cool to actually speak to people from those cultures, those regions, and try to actually get like a realistic idea.
Yeah.
I don't want to come in there and just steal culture from
Wikipedia
that are not my background.
Right? Yeah. Like actually get people involved.
Possibly paint it in a bad way, or don't give a good representation of why either of those spirits are mischievous or good or bad. Like it'd be good to paint it in a very real life approach to it, but also, make it like a game, right? You can't make every spirit or demon bad. You can't also make them all good. So it comes with that fine line of making sure you get it kind of right. But, throughout your travels, you meet good demons, you meet bad, like angels, you meet it. It takes different turns, right? And you end up realizing like, oh, you are going to have to find a way to work with these non-human beings. And I think, we had it where it was like, did we do it where we battled them, or is it, I don't want to say it's going to be like a Persona or Pokemon where like the demons fight each other, but you just kind of stay in the background. Like, I feel like,
I think that would, so I was just thinking about that right now of like, how do we get the player into this cyber world where the demons are, right? Like, because that's kind of one of the weird things, because we were looking at it as like a Mega Man Battle Network style, right? Like you jack in real quick and you have your avatar that goes and does its thing, and that takes no explanation, right? Like that's a pretty easy way of doing it. But yeah. I think now, because we've been fleshing this over for years now, actually, and there's a lot more reference points and things that we can kind of pull from. But I actually think that it might be interesting to have it where you are a hacker that has made a pact with a fiend, and that maybe the fiend is named Cypher, right? Or something kind of like techie, but he's able to, or it is able to actually get you in there. And that's your portal in, right? Like you fuse with Cypher to actually get to be able to see where these demons are being are actually at, like where you're going through like this computerized network and fighting in there. Like you're fighting in the Wi-Fi or right, like in the signals there, right? Something like that. So
I like that. I'm constantly thinking about how like, oh, this could be like Chainsaw Man, where it's like, you make a pact, and not everyone can make a pact with, these
or is willing,
other,
right?
Yeah. And so you can take on different, and when you do it, it gives you different attributes, different powers, right? And originally I was thinking, oh, well, we keep the demons in the cyber world, like you said, Battle Network. But then you realize, like, they're not just in the cyber world, they are in the real world as well. And that's when you learn that you can make pacts. Like, this would be something maybe you find out early on, is that they exist in the real world and not just in the virtual, right? Like, a lot of them tell you, oh, this is only possible in the virtual. But it's, when I think about that, that's why I was thinking, oh, with the combat, how would that work? But I kind of like that where when you make a contract, you kind of gain their looks too. Instead of chainsaws coming out of your head and your hands, say,
what if Cypher is like a glitched out little demon ghosty thingy, right? So whenever you fuse with him, let's say you're wearing like a jacket or something like that, but now your jacket is like glitching every once in a while, or like it has a glow to it, like a cybernetic glow. So it's something aesthetic like that, right? Or he becomes the jacket that you're wearing and it gives you the powers that he has or whatever it is.
Oh, I like that.
Right. So it's like little nods like that. Like, I guess kind of like Persona, right? They change their outfits and whatever it is. But I like that look, right? And I think that might be kind of cool to actually have like a slightly like glitching outfit because you're fused with Cypher. And as you're playing through this game, you're getting more and more people in your group, in your little like hacker community that are trying to help out. And like you said, they're maybe like even in the opening, you're just a hacker doing your thing. And the way you hack is actually, there you go, here's our turn-based part of this. And then it goes to the action thing, right? When in the very beginning, you actually are just a plain old hacker and you've made a program where like maybe you call yourself the program Kami, right? For God or whatever it is. And you have a little avatar that is like a little 8-bit like representation. It could be, which could be kind of fun. But you go into a system and you actually fight viruses or break down firewalls and do those things with your little hacker like version of you, right? But you don't realize that you are actually fighting real demons that are there. You just think it's a way that like you coded different like security measures to be personified as little viruses that you fight, right? To make your way in. So like that's your version of being a hacker. And that would maybe be like simple turn-based combat there. But then you start seeing like, oh, you realize like maybe you get a weird file, right, from it. And you're like, it's a weird encrypted file that's on a USB, right? And you're just sitting there like, what the hell is this? I can't figure it out. Well, I'm just going to go to bed and screw it. But then Cypher comes out from there. Like you found Cypher. And Cypher kind of alludes to the fact that there are others out there. And, maybe we did talk about like a mom and pop business too, right? That you're working at, like your father's shop that might be getting overrun by a major corporation. And maybe Cypher alludes to the fact that like maybe you mention a corporation's name and they're like, oh gosh, that's so-and-so. I hate that guy. And then you're like, who are you talking about? And he's like, oh, the devil, this guy, right? Like, and that's how you start finding out about the demons in the real world. The fact that the demon's power is what's actually fueling this business that's kind of ruining the mom and pop shops around town and taking the wealth away from like the common folk, so to speak, right? So I like this. I like it again.
I think with that, with Cypher, it's like, he was handed down to you or, gained by, the network at the store, right? But you don't know how he appeared there, right? It would come out later that your father knew, because that's a shop. and your father would be tied, there'd be ties to the corporation and stuff, and there's a reason why, like you maybe haven't, like the business is still there even though this corporation has all the needs that people need. And you want to be the good child of your father and be like, I'm gonna take them on, or try to like take them down, kind of thing. And that this would be the first game, right? So it's like basically a big corporation is kind of like destroying your family's livelihood, so you want to get back at them and kind of expose the terribleness of it. But then the second game that say takes place, I don't know, let's go with Africa. You want to work on, you realize, like, I feel like it'd be cool to have a character that sees the potential of your whole region and wants to see it advance beyond other places in the world, these other megacorps throughout the world. And so you are this person who is trying to benefit your area compared to the others. So in that game, you're kind of working on trying to unify all these other nations on the continent. And through that, you realize that there's, a more sinister side to some of these some of these nations, and they don't see eye to eye. They don't want to follow you, right? They want to be the leader.
Mm-hmm.
So it becomes more of like a internal kind of conflict. And of course there'd be stuff that carries over between each game, and then hopefully at the end people end up really liking it, and we've already gotten a few games in, have it where it really kind of all ties together.
Right.
And something that I thought about is that if we make these games kind of all like standalone, where's going to be the big bad, right? Like, where are they all going to converge and be like, we need to take this on? And I was thinking, well, it'd be kind of lame to be like, oh, we're just going to go to hell and fight everything there,
right?
So I'm like thinking, I don't want to pick a certain country or region as like, this is where the big portal comes from, right? Like, I mean, at first it made sense where the main headquarters from the first game would be the major portal. But I'm thinking, what if there's like a top secret portal that no one knows, and that's like the main thing, and there's like maybe, oh, that's the other thing we were talking about. There was a secret group that was for the demons, right? Like, they're humans, but they want to, they're like conspiracy, like they're not the people that run the world. Like, I guess you could say, like, they're not the Illuminati, but they're the people that kind of agree with them, right? They're the ones that,
well, they're the followers, and they're the ones giving the demons power, right? Because that's a common trope within like demon lore that's used a lot, is the more people either fear or say their name, the stronger they are. So maybe that's like this group. These different groups are connected to the demon itself, because maybe the demon has done favors for them, or give them some sort of wealth and prosperity in their life, or a semblance of normalcy. So they follow the demon's path, right? So, and kind of like give them the power that they need.
Yeah. And, with them, they would be like the Team Rocket to the story, kind of, right? They're the ones that are always going to be in your way. They may not work at the corporation, they may not do all this, but they're around. And once they learn about you messing with the flow of things that they think you're going well with this power, they want to stop you, right? And I think back to what I was saying with you trying to unite those nations. They see that you're trying to change the flow of the world, so they become like your big enemies in that game.
Yeah.
Compared to, say, the first one where it's like you against the corporation kind of thing. So this is when you start seeing like, oh, there's a deeper group, like I don't say a terrorist group, but these guys,
It's like Umbrella,
these conspiracy
right?
guys. Yeah, they have a lot of power, but at the end of the day, they really don't have a lot of power over the whole world. So that's when, at the end of that game, you realize like, oh, there's people pulling the strings with the demons, right? So then maybe the third game, when you start dealing with like the Americas, like I figured with the Americas, you could just make that one big game and focus on both regions, North and South, right?
Yeah.
Like that could be the big game. So like say the first game, Japan, it's small, right? Small island, but there's a lot to do on it. And then because it's at that point, almost all of the island is basically city, right? There's some pockets of green, but a lot of it's taken over. And then, Africa's huge. So that would be a whole game. And you could maybe mix in some of like the Middle East with it too. That'd be kind of interesting to mix that in.
That'd be cool.
But then, then you have, I think I was more so like interested, like would the third game be in the Americas or would it be like Europa or like Eurasia? And, I didn't really decide. I feel like the Americas would be a little more interesting at that point because that's when you start learning about like that super group that kind of has all the power.
I think having the third game be the Americas, it allows for some interesting ideas because we are a mix of so many different cultures that would bring in demons from all over the world. So we could do it that way, right? Where the first two games are kind of focused on the regions that they're at, but America being what it is, it has pull and connections to all of it, right? Like there's pockets of like different demons from around the world basically living in there.
Yeah, like they traveled from those other regions and they are in like America, and it's like, I don't know, it'd be really interesting because that's it kind of ties into that super group because there's a whole collection of these different non-human beings. And you realize like your character in that game, like I haven't really thought about who you are in that. I feel like that would be something I have to think about because I'm like, damn, I like the first two characters, how they're like starting stories are, but I'm like, the Americas, it would have to be kind of a big one because you're realizing like a very strong plot point, and it would have to tie in really well with the others. Like the tie-in with 2 and 1 is that all of this is kind of going on around the same time. I feel like maybe the first game is like 5 years before 2. So that way, like, while the events are 2 are going on, you learn about the stuff that happened in Japan and you're like, oh wow, like, so this stuff does exist. Like, this is why we need to unite so this kind of problem doesn't happen anymore.
What if the main characters are from 1 and 2? It's 10 years after the first game and 5 years after the second. So they've found out some stuff. They know some things, right? Like maybe in the first game with it being in Japan, you have your main character, his demon pact is with Cypher. It could be like a short sword or something like that, right? Like as Cypher's weapon. But then with this, like 10 years later, finally this new character, this character from the first game comes back, and he has like a freaking like Sephiroth glitch blade, right? And he's all like has like a battle scar, right? He's older, he's aged, and he's been fighting this fight for a while. So it kind of like ties everything back in together, right? And it just makes it kind of harmonious that way, where the main characters are now a part of the same hacker group. and they're the uprising. They're the ones that are coming together to try and actually stop this thing from happening, because maybe there's a collection of too much power in one area and they're actually trying to open up a true gate. Like in the other games, they've closed smaller gates, but this is a true gate, like one for like the ultimate bad that they both have to work together to close.
I like that. Like, I'm thinking, like,
It gives me like Resident Evil vibes, right? Where each game's a different characters.
Yeah. And I didn't think about maybe just ending the game at the third one. That way it's a trilogy. And so I'm thinking maybe the games are actually bigger, right? So the first game is not just Japan, but there are some elements of the other, like, islands and stuff around you. Like, even like Australia could be thrown in there.
Mm-hmm.
But Australia's like maybe half the size, right? Maybe half of it was like sunk or blown up.
Probably sunk by this point if it's in the future, right?
Yeah. And then with the second game, like, your primary focus is Africa, but Europe could play a part in it, right? Like that whole region. It's not, maybe you couldn't explore there, but there's a lot of connections. Maybe, like, because I don't want to say like you're a solo character, but you do get party members, right?
Mm-hmm.
So you go there, you meet people, and the story kind of expands. I didn't really think much about Europe, but I think it'd be interesting. Maybe, so then it's not like a freaking 100-hour game. You could do it where most of Europe was destroyed.
Yeah.
Right? Because you look at Europe and it's like, what, the second like powerful region? Like, it's at this point in the future, it's kind of like left behind because they were so focused on trying to catch up with the Americas, but then the Americas kind of like bled themselves dry.
Or
like, this
we
would
can
be like the
expand
focus
on like current events that are happening right now, right? Like Russia obviously wants to fight with everybody. And I think that's what kind of nice about this game too, is that it keeps evolving the more time it has to really make it flesh out this world. But what if like the Middle East, Europe, Russia area have been decimated by countless wars? Because those are the battlegrounds, right? Like pretty much every war that we've been alive for has been fought in those areas, like specifically Middle East areas. So why can't that expand out?
I think that'd be kind of interesting. And I'm thinking, what if, like, say, like Europe, Russia, like they're left behind because they were so focused on war. And then with the Middle East, certain regions are kind of left behind, but then other regions are like very prosperous, like, I'm not saying like Saudi Arabia, like you can make it where they're just kind of like, it'd be interesting to put it where, they're not, you would think they'd be super advanced, but they're actually like where you think they would be. Like, obviously futuristic, but not like the most like powerful. But then, like, say, like, I don't know, you could do like Iran has like a utopia, or one of the countries there has like a utopian city. And it's kind of like the PowerPoint for that region, right? Like, I feel like there always has to be like a PowerPoint or portal for a region. And I think like when it comes to the Europe, Middle East, Russia region, like it would be the Middle East that has the PowerPoint there, because they were smart with their choosing of like how events played out. And in that game, when you're trying to unify all those nations, they're almost like a rival to you, right? They seem friendly to you. They like your ideas, but they don't know if they can kind of trust you. So it goes on from there. But when we go to the Americas, it's like certain parts of America are like, kind of how we have the Rust Belt here, like along the Great Lakes, where it's just like abandoned factories and stuff. Like a good chunk of America is just like abandoned, but they're like slums. So like these one point, these cities that were really thriving are like kind of really run down. And there's like maybe certain spots when I think North America, it's like maybe a region in each area that has like a really strong point or two. And then all the other smaller areas are just like very basic, like not super advanced. And then, you go down to South America where it's like almost protected. Like no one from anywhere else in the world has really tried to either have a war with them or anything. So they've been able to just kind of thrive. Like certain regions have some kind of internal conflict, but at the end of the day, they were able to put those conflicts aside and still kind of push themselves up. But they're kind of like that secret power, right? They're a very strong, not secretive, but just like, it's not really known to the world. Like they were able to kind of shut themselves off from the rest of the world. And because of that, there's like a power there that, no one really knows.
Yeah. Oh gosh.
I want to see this game happen.
Yeah. We've been talking about it for such a long time, but it does it is a huge endeavor. This title for sure. Like this is, I feel like more than a 2-man show to make that thing really happen.
Oh, definitely.
Yeah. Because I mean, as far as like graphically and everything like that, it needs to be up there. Like I'm thinking Final Fantasy Remake graphics, right? Like it needs to be like pretty damn good, in my opinion. Like
it'd be cool to do 3D, but I'd be happy with maybe like high def sprite work almost. Mm-hmm. Like maybe Blasphemous level. Or
I feel like it would be kind of hard to really get that vibe and the scale across, but maybe.
What about like Eastward?
Yeah, that's true, huh? Because they were able to make a huge grand city and just make it feel so alive.
Yeah, I mean 3D definitely would be fascinating. And with how Unreal Engine is now, I mean you could probably do it a lot easier. I almost feel like maybe 3D would be better.
I don't know, that's the vibe I'm feeling. Like I feel like this needs to be up there in like scale, everything, right? Maybe. Who knows? Maybe we can do a little tech demo of it as like a little 2D thing and see what we can do. Because there's some amazing 2D games out there for sure, and amazing sprite games that are coming out that are just kind of mind blowing with what scale and imagery they have. So it could be possible. I'm not saying it's not, but I don't know. My mind always like looks at this game or visualize it in like that kind of style, more like the Final Fantasies. Yeah. But yeah, so I think that might do it for us this week. We've talked a lot, and thank you guys for listening in as a little peek behind the curtain of how our minds work whenever we've been discussing stuff. And this is just like one conversation of so many that we've had when we work together and like when we're not recording and talking about these kind of games. And it's just so much fun to really try and dive into what they can be and how far they can go. And like I said in the beginning of this episode, if you liked any of these ideas, let us know, right? Let us know your thoughts on these, because these are projects that we really want to work on, and we are actually starting to, which is probably the most fun part, right? I feel like we've talked about it long enough. We have the couple of the games that I think will be amazing confidence builders and ways to boost up the community and things like that. But just to get us more comfortable with the idea of making games so that we can make some of these bigger, grandiose projects that we have laid out here. So yeah, I hope you guys enjoy this stuff and be on the lookout for some of these things actually coming coming to a console computer near you, hopefully soon. That'll be a lot of fun. But with that, we'll talk to you guys next week with the next set of games as we dive further into that amazing world there. But until then, bye for now. Thank you.